All right, today we're on chapter 3 and 4 of First Corinthians. And so as you read these chapters, you're going to notice kind of in a similar thing to chapter 1, where Paul is addressing them picking favorite teachers and leaders. We all have different personalities and we all have different styles, and we all have a little different focus or things that are important to us in life. And so what this church was doing is that they were finding different leaders who had a similar personality style or a different preaching or speaking style that they liked, or maybe a little different thing in life that they personally valued that the teacher also valued. And so then they would pick favorites based off of that. And Paul is saying this isn't appropriate or good for the Church of God, because all of its true leaders who teach and preach Jesus Christ, they are all trying to build the church up into Jesus. And so don't pick favorites. He uses a gardening analogy. He says that some leaders plant seeds, some leaders water seeds, but only God can cause it to grow. The gospel, the good news of Jesus, only God can cause that to grow. If you think about like a garden, you plant, you water, you pull weeds, but only God can cause it to grow based off of sun and soil and some things that are outside of our control. And so Paul is saying it's the same in the church. So don't pick leaders based off of what you like, but those who are teaching Jesus and trust that God is using them to help you grow. He also uses a building analogy, saying that everyone has a different role in building a home, but it's all for, like in the church, everyone has a different role in building the church, but it's all for the glory of God. Just the same way that when you build a house, like there's construction people, there's electricians, there's plumbers, but they're all working for the same goal. That's the same thing in the church. Your pastors don't compete with one another. They all want the same thing. They want the church to grow in the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so that's kind of what he does in chapter 3, really, and chapter 4. These two chapters are kind of focused in on what Paul kind of just touched on in chapter 1. He now goes deeper on in chapter 3 and 4. I love verse 16 of chapter 3, where Paul says, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that the Spirit of God dwells in you?" He's saying that you, the church, the people of God, the Spirit of God dwells in us, and we are important. We are the place that God dwells. God doesn't live in a church building. God lives in his people. And so when we come together, there's this powerful reality that God is present with us. And he's saying, don't divide over teachers or leaders. Come together as one, because you are the temple of the living God, and he's pleased with you and he's dwelling within you. And he says, if anyone destroys the temple of God, God will destroy him. That's a really stern warning. And he's in the context here, we destroy the temple of God by picking favorite teachers and leaders and dividing over that. And so he's saying, stay united, stay one, cling to Jesus. Let your leaders teach you and lead you, but don't pick favorites. Look to Jesus together. And he kind of continues this theme in chapter 4, and it's kind of a humbling call to leaders to do their job of preaching and teaching Jesus, and not trying to become popular or famous among the church or among the churches by what they do. But their job is to proclaim Jesus to the church, and the church's job is to look to Jesus and to receive instructions from their leaders, but to keep pressing on towards Jesus. So that is chapter 3 and 4 for us. Next, we will look at 5 and 6. So prepare for that tomorrow.